You know how some tasks just feel effortless, while others are a constant struggle? Well, the secret isn't always about working harder. It's about working smarter. Today, we're going to explore the science of making work more efficient, more effective, and, well, fundamentally, more human.
I mean, we've all been there, right? Trying to assemble furniture with instructions that make absolutely no sense. Navigating a kitchen that's laid out all wrong, or wrestling with some clunky piece of software. That feeling of inefficiency, it's not just in your head, it's a design problem. And believe it or not, there's a whole science dedicated to fixing it.
So let's dive in. You can think of smart work as a two-sided coin. On one side, you've got work design. That's all about optimizing the system, the process, the workflow, the whole shebang. On the other side, you have job design, which focuses entirely on the person, their needs, their comfort, their well-being. And when you get both of those right, that's when productivity really takes off.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the foundational science. Then we'll look at how to improve the actual process. After that, we'll figure out how to measure the time a task should realistically take. Then, we'll flip that coin and focus on the human side of things before bringing it all together to see how productivity and people can truly thrive together. So, let's start with the big picture. For a long time, the focus was all on profit and just streamlining operations. People were kind of treated like cogs in a machine. Think of a classic assembly line. But the modern way of thinking realizes that true, sustainable efficiency only happens when you design for both the system and the person.
The main tool that organizations use for this is something called work study. You can think of it as a systematic investigation into how work actually gets done. This isn't about guesswork at all. It's a scientific method that has two really powerful pillars to help us analyze and improve pretty much any task you can imagine.
All right, let's explore that first pillar, method study. This is where we put on our detective hats and really investigate the how and the why behind every single step of a process. And the mission here is crystal clear. It's all about stripping away the unnecessary stuff, wasted movement, delays, needless complexity, to find the most direct, most effective path from A to B. It's about achieving a kind of elegance and efficiency in every single thing we do.
So how do we actually do that? Well, it's with a really simple but incredibly powerful questioning technique. Let's take something like washing dishes. First, you ask what they call the primary questions. Purpose: why are we doing this? To get clean dishes. Place: where is it done? In the sink. Sequence: when? Right after the meal. And so on. But then come the secondary questions. What else could be done? Could we use a dishwasher? Where else could it be done? Could we set up a different station on the counter? By challenging every single assumption, you suddenly open the door to real innovation.
Now, check out how analysts visualize this whole thing. They start with what you see here, an operation process chart. Think of this as the 30,000-foot view. It only shows the core steps, the main doing operations, and the key quality checks. It gives you a really clean, simple map of just the essential workflow. Okay, now let's see how this builds. Next, they layer on more detail with a flow process chart. This chart doesn't just show what happens, it tracks everything in between. You see all these different symbols? They represent things like when an item is being moved, when it's just sitting there waiting, or when it's in storage. This is where you really start to spot the hidden inefficiencies. And this, wow, this is the final reveal. The string diagram, often called a spaghetti diagram for pretty obvious reasons, is such a powerful visual. You literally map out a physical space and then trace the path a worker or a part takes. The result often looks like a tangled mess, and it instantly shows you every unnecessary step and every inefficient trip across the floor. It's brilliant. Okay, so we've figured out a better way to do the work. Great, but now for the second huge question, how long should that work actually take? This brings us to the second pillar of work study, which is called work measurement. Now, this isn't about rushing people or cracking a whip. It's about establishing a fair, consistent, and achievable standard. The whole goal is to figure out the time a properly trained worker needs to do a job at a sustainable pace. And this is absolutely crucial for planning, for scheduling, and for setting fair expectations for everyone.
So how's it done? Well, a lot of the time it starts with the most fundamental tool in the toolbox, a simple stopwatch. An analyst will observe a task, break it down into its core pieces, and then time each one over and over again to get a really representative picture of how long it takes.
But here's the key. The number on that stopwatch is just the beginning. That's the observed time. To get to the standard time, analysts have to adjust it. They factor in the worker's performance. Were they working faster or slower than a normal, steady pace? And then they add in allowances for personal needs, for rest, and for those little unavoidable delays that just happen. The final result? A standard that's both realistic and fair.
So we've optimized the system, we've measured the time, but we've left out the most important piece of the puzzle: the person doing the work. So now let's flip that coin we talked about and get into job design, which is all about making work fit for human beings. You see, for a long time, the dominant idea was specialization, breaking jobs into these tiny, repetitive tasks. And from a purely mechanical standpoint, it worked. Training was fast, output was high. But the human cost was enormous. It just bred boredom, frustration, and fatigue, and it absolutely crushed any sense of job satisfaction. And this is where modern job design comes into play. It's all about finding that sweet spot, that perfect balance. The work still needs to meet the organization's goals, of course. But, and this is a big but, it also has to satisfy the needs of the person doing it. Their need for engagement, for a bit of a challenge, and for a sense of real accomplishment. A huge key to this is ergonomics. It's basically the science of designing the work environment, your chair, your tools, your desk, to fit the human body, not forcing the human body to fit the work environment. Good ergonomics reduces strain, it prevents injury, and it boosts both comfort and efficiency.
So, let's bring this all home. We've got work design, which focuses on the system, and job design, which focuses on the person. When you actually integrate them, something really powerful starts to happen.
The payoff is just huge. Yeah, you get higher productivity and less waste, sure. But more importantly, you get workers who are less tired, less frustrated, and healthier, both physically and mentally. It's about creating an environment that produces more while actually enhancing human dignity. Because ultimately, this isn't just about business metrics. Thoughtful work and job design don't just improve processes, they improve lives. And since work is such a huge part of our existence, better work really does mean a better quality of life for everyone. So I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time a task feels clumsy or frustrating, don't just power through it. Just stop for a second. Ask yourself, what's the real purpose here? Is there a better way to do this? And how could this be designed not just for efficiency, but for the human who actually has to do it?